The distant planet of Dracora was quiet, too quiet. Its skies were painted in shades of violet and deep orange, and its mountains rose like jagged teeth against the fading sunlight. In this remote corner of the galaxy, a shelter sat alone, forgotten by most civilizations. Inside, rows of cages and pens held creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some were wild, some injured, but one creature stood out. Not because of its size or strength, but because of its sadness. The dragon sat in the corner of a shadowed pen, its scales dull and its wings drooping. Its eyes, normally bright like molten gold, were clouded with a sorrow that seemed endless. No one visited the shelter to see it. No one wanted it. It was the dragon everyone avoided, the one that seemed too broken to be saved. The staff fed it, cleaned its cage, but even they treated it with quiet distance. They whispered that this dragon had a curse, that no one could help it, that it was destined to live its days in loneliness. High above, in orbit, a human ship named Aegis received a strange signal. The signal was weak, distorted, almost like a cry for help. Its source was untraceable at first, but then the patterns became clear. It was coming from Dracora. Commander Jace Kellen, a seasoned explorer and rescuer, squinted at the screen. "Sir, it's a shelter," said the communications officer, her voice a mix of confusion and curiosity. "The signal, it's coming from a dragon shelter, but the distress level is extreme. I've never seen anything like this." Jace leaned forward, gripping the edge of the console. "Dragons? On Dracora? I thought the last ones were centuries ago." "Plot a course. We leave now." Within minutes, the Aegis cut through the void of space, moving faster than light, leaving stars streaking behind. Jace's mind raced. Dragons were rare, almost mythical. Why would a shelter send a distress signal now? And why was it addressed specifically to a human ship? As the Aegis descended toward Dracora's surface, the landscape grew more alien. Jagged mountains loomed, forests of glowing plants swayed with the wind, and rivers of liquid crystal reflected the dying sun. The shelter was tucked in a valley surrounded by cliffs, small and unassuming, yet something about it pulled at Jace's instincts. He had rescued many creatures before, but the feeling he had now was different. It was almost like the planet itself was warning him, or perhaps asking for help. The doors of the ship opened with a hiss, and Jace stepped onto the soft violet soil. The air was heavy but breathable, tinged with minerals that smelled faintly metallic. He made his way to the shelter, his boots crunching over strange stones. From a distance, he could see movement inside the pens, but one shadow caught his eye immediately. A dragon, small, thin, with scales that had lost their shine. Its head was bowed, its body curled as if it wanted to disappear into the ground. The dragon sensed him. Its golden eyes flicked up, filled with fear and distrust. It hissed softly, a sound more like a whisper than a threat. Jace froze. He had learned over decades that fear was often stronger than anger, and this creature's fear was deep, almost palpable. "Easy," he said softly, kneeling a few feet away. "I'm not here to hurt you. I want to help." The dragon's wings twitched nervously, and it took a small step backward. Its tail whipped in tension. Jace noticed a faint glow on its scales, a subtle shimmer of energy, almost like the dragon's sadness was spilling into the air around it. He had seen dragons before, but never like this. This one seemed alive in a way that went beyond mere flesh and scales. It was as if its pain had made it something more. Inside the shelter, Jace could hear the faint clatter of cages, the hiss of dragons low in fear, and the faint hum of broken machines. The shelter had been abandoned by its operators. The equipment was failing, the food supplies dwindling, and the dragons were left to survive on their own. Most had adjusted, but the lonely dragon, it had not. Jace reached into his pack and pulled out a small pouch of nutrient orbs, specially designed for dragons. He tossed one gently toward the dragon. It landed softly on the ground a few inches away. The dragon eyed it suspiciously, sniffed the air, and then backed away. Jace sighed quietly but did not move. Patience was key. Every creature had its own time, its own trust, and this dragon had been hurt too many times to accept help quickly. Hours passed. The sun dipped lower, and Dracara's twin moons began to rise, casting silver light across the valley. The dragon's body began to relax slightly. Its tail stopped thrashing, and its ears twitched less nervously. Finally, it stepped forward, cautiously, and nudged the orb with its snout, tasted it, and then, slowly, almost reluctantly, ate it. Jace's heart lifted slightly. This was the first small step. Night fell, and with it came a cold wind. Jace set up a temporary shelter for himself nearby. He watched the dragon as it curled up against a rock, its eyes never leaving him completely. It was wary, but not hostile. There was a connection forming, fragile but real. Jace knew the real challenge was ahead. He had to earn the dragon's trust fully, or any rescue mission would fail. Suddenly, the hum of the shelter's broken equipment changed. A faint signal began to pulse, brighter than before. Jace stood, heart pounding. The dragon lifted its head, its eyes wide with recognition. The signal, it was not just a distress call. It was a message, a warning, a cry that something dangerous was coming. The dragon shivered, as if it felt it too. Jace's mind raced. Whoever or whatever was behind this, they were approaching. The valley, once quiet and peaceful, now felt tense, almost alive with anticipation. The dragon, still small and fragile, rose to its feet. Its wings trembled, and its golden eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight. "Don't worry," Jace whispered. "I'm here now. I won't let anything hurt you." The dragon's ears twitched, and for a moment, a spark of understanding passed between them. This was no ordinary creature. Its sadness was deep, yes, but beneath it lay a strength that had not yet been revealed. Jace felt it too. This dragon was special, and whatever threat loomed, they would face it together. The wind howled through the valley, carrying the faint echo of a distant roar, something neither entirely animal nor entirely alien. The dragon stiffened, claws digging into the soft soil, and Jace tightened his grip on his pack. He did not know what was coming, but he knew one thing clearly. The lonely dragon's story was about to change, and so would his own. Above, the stars glimmered, indifferent to the struggles below. Yet for one human and one dragon, the night had never felt so alive with possibility and danger. The valley was silent under the twin moons of Dracara. The wind whispered through the jagged cliffs, carrying a faint metallic scent from the distant rivers of liquid crystal. Commander Jace Kellen stood at the edge of the shelter, his eyes fixed on the lonely dragon that had not moved from its shadowed corner. He had learned patience in countless rescues, but something about this dragon felt different. Its sadness was deeper than he had ever seen, and yet, beneath it, there was a spark, small, almost invisible, but undeniable. Jace stepped forward, careful not to make sudden movements. His boots crunched softly against the violet soil. The dragon's golden eyes followed him, wide and wary, pupils narrowing in suspicion. For a moment, it seemed as if time itself had paused in the valley, the world holding its breath. "I'm not going to hurt you," Jace said gently, lowering himself to one knee. "I just want to help." The dragon shifted, wings trembling slightly, but it did not move away. It sniffed the air cautiously, nostrils flaring. Its tail, a thin, whip-like appendage, flicked back and forth, betraying the anxiety it tried to hide. Jace noticed something faint glowing along its scales, like a heartbeat of light pulsing in rhythm with its sorrow. It was subtle, but he felt the energy, the potential locked inside this broken creature. Jace reached into his pack and retrieved a small vial of luminescent liquid, a special potion designed for dragons in distress. He held it out in his hand. The liquid shimmered in the moonlight, reflecting faint shades of violet and gold. "Try it," he whispered. "It will help you feel better, just a little." The dragon's head tilted, curiosity fighting with fear. Slowly, it approached, sniffing the air around the vial. Its scales shimmered faintly with the light of the potion, but it pulled back at the last moment, as if unsure whether to trust him. Jace sighed, understanding. He had to earn its trust, and that would take time. He spent hours sitting near the dragon, speaking softly, offering food and water, and letting it see that he would not force it into anything. He did not approach too quickly, did not reach out to touch it. He simply existed nearby, a silent presence, giving the dragon space to choose him. By the time the twin moons rose higher in the sky, the dragon had taken a tentative step closer. Its tail no longer thrashed, and it lowered its head slightly as it accepted the potion from Jace's hand. The liquid tasted strange but soothing, and the dragon's breathing eased. Jace felt a small smile tug at his lips. This was the first real connection, fragile as it was. But the valley did not remain quiet for long. From the shadows of the cliffs, a sound emerged. A low, rumbling growl, almost mechanical in tone. The dragon's ears twitched, and it stepped between Jace and the sound, protective despite its small size. The growl grew louder, echoing through the valley, bouncing off the jagged rocks. Jace stiffened. "What is it?" he whispered, scanning the area. The valley was empty, yet the presence of danger was undeniable. His instincts, honed over years of exploration, told him that something was approaching, something that the dragon could sense, something he could not yet see. Suddenly, a shadow moved along the cliff's edge. Jace squinted. It was large, unlike any creature he had seen before. Its form shifted and shimmered, almost blending with the rocks, but its eyes glowed a menacing red. The dragon hissed, a sharp, warning sound, and its body bristled. Jace felt the pulse of its energy intensify, the faint glow along its scales brightening as if the dragon itself were preparing for what was coming. Jace realized then that this dragon was not just sad. It was powerful, hiding strength beneath its sorrow. And whatever threat lurked in the shadows, it had underestimated the creature it came to confront. The shadow advanced, moving silently but deliberately. Jace took a step forward, placing himself between the dragon and the unknown entity. "Stay behind me," he said, voice steady despite the tension in his chest. The dragon hesitated, then moved closer to him, wings folding tightly against its body. As the shadow reached the valley floor, its form became clearer. It was a drone, sleek and black, with sharp edges and scanning lights flickering across its surface. Its purpose was unmistakable: to capture or destroy. Jace's heart pounded. This was no random intruder. Someone somewhere had sent it, and it was searching for this dragon. Jace raised his hand, trying to communicate peace, but the drone did not stop. It hovered, scanning, calculating. The dragon hissed again, stepping forward, claws digging into the soil. A small flame flickered from its nostrils, weak but present. Jace's breath caught. He had seen dragons breathe fire before, but this was different, controlled, intentional, as if the dragon were testing the limits of its own power. The drone emitted a shrill warning, and the dragon's eyes glowed brighter. Then, without warning, it unleashed a small burst of fire. The flame struck the drone's side, scorching its sleek metal surface. Sparks flew, and the drone reeled back, surprised. Jace took a cautious step forward. "You're stronger than I thought," he murmured. The dragon's tail flicked once, almost like a nod, and it stepped back, waiting for his next move. Jace understood. This creature was learning, testing, and trusting him in the same breath. Hours passed as Jace and the dragon established a fragile routine. He fed it, spoke to it, and let it explore the edges of the valley under his watchful eye. Slowly, the dragon's sadness seemed to lessen, replaced by curiosity and a growing bond with the human. Yet, the valley itself remained tense, as if it too were aware that danger lingered just beyond the cliffs. Then, a new signal appeared on Jace's scanner. A faint pulse, different from the shelter's original distress call. It was urgent, rhythmic, and unmistakably directed toward them. Jace's eyes narrowed. Someone else was coming. Someone with intent, someone who might not care about the dragon's life or his own. The dragon reacted immediately, its body lowering in a defensive stance, wings trembling with energy that was now clearly visible. Jace stepped closer, putting a hand gently on its scaled shoulder. "We faced this together," he said. The dragon looked at him, and for the first time, Jace saw a spark of trust. Not complete trust, but enough to signal the beginning of a partnership. As night deepened over the valley, the shadows grew longer, the wind colder. The drone from earlier had disappeared, but the signal continued, a persistent reminder that something was coming. Jace tightened his grip on his equipment, eyes scanning every movement in the valley. The dragon shifted beside him, ready to act at a moment's notice. And then, from the far side of the valley, a distant roar echoed, low and terrifying. It was not the dragon. It was something else, something massive. The dragon stiffened, wings flicking in alert, and Jace's heart raced. Whoever or whatever was approaching, it was coming for the lonely dragon, the one no one had wanted. But this time Jace was here, and he would not let it face the danger alone. The signal had brought him here, but now it was clear. The Real challenge was just beginning. The valley that had been silent, sad, and lonely was about to become the stage for something greater. Something that would test the limits of both human courage and dragon power. Above, the twin moons cast silver light over the valley, glinting off the dragon's scales, which now shimmered faintly in response to the approaching threat. The night was alive with tension, and both human and dragon knew that the events to come would change their lives forever. The valley was alive with tension, yet a fragile calm lingered around the lonely dragon and Commander Jace Kellen. The twin moons cast soft silver light over the jagged cliffs, highlighting the dragon's faintly glowing scales. It had taken hours, but the dragon had begun to trust Jace, testing him with small movements and cautious glances. The bond between them was delicate, like a thread stretching across a stormy sky, easy to break, yet strong enough to hold. Jace watched the dragon closely. Its wings trembled slightly whenever he moved, but its eyes no longer held pure fear. Instead, curiosity peeked through. He reached into his pack and pulled out another small vial, this one filled with a calming solution that dragons often responded to when frightened or anxious. Slowly, he placed it on the ground, letting the dragon approach on its own. The dragon sniffed the liquid, pawed at it cautiously, and then drank. Its golden eyes flickered with a faint light, and for the first time, Jace noticed something extraordinary. Tiny sparks of energy danced along the dragon's scales, like faint lightning tracing the contours of its body. The dragon lifted its head, wings fluttering, and let out a soft, musical hum that resonated in the valley. Jace's heart raced. He had seen dragons breathe fire, glide through storms, and perform feats of strength. But this energy, this aura was different. It was almost as if the dragon's sadness had been holding a hidden power inside, a potential that now began to surface. "You're amazing," Jace whispered. I think you're stronger than anyone imagined." The dragon blinked slowly, almost as if it understood him. It stepped closer, allowing Jace to extend a hand and touch its scaled shoulder gently. The sensation was electric, a tingling warmth that ran up his arm. The dragon did not pull away. Instead, it leaned into the touch, signaling a trust that had seemed impossible hours ago. But the valley was not entirely safe. The distant growl from earlier had not disappeared. It lingered, a constant reminder that danger loomed. Jace's scanner buzzed faintly, picking up movement on the cliff edges. Another drone, or maybe more, was approaching. Whoever was behind them had not given up, and the dragon's presence was the target. Jace knew they could not stay here. The dragon, though fragile in appearance, had strength hidden in its energy. But the valley offered little protection against multiple threats. They needed to move, to find a safer place where the bond between human and dragon could grow without constant fear. He spoke softly. "We need to go. There's a safer place nearby. Trust me." The dragon hesitated, glancing toward the cliffs where shadows flickered. Its ears twitched, and a low, wary hum vibrated from its chest. Then, slowly, it lowered its wings and allowed Jace to guide it toward a narrow canyon, hidden from view. The terrain was rough, the path steep, but the dragon moved with a surprising grace, carefully stepping over rocks and crevices. As they walked, Jace observed the dragon more closely. Its scales glowed faintly along the spine, pulsating in rhythm with its emotions. When it felt fear, the glow dimmed. When it felt curiosity or trust, the glow brightened. This subtle energy seemed connected to its mood, a physical manifestation of its inner state. Jace realized that understanding this energy would be key to protecting the dragon, and perhaps unlocking its full potential. They reached the canyon just as the first drone emerged from the shadows of the cliffs. It was sleek, black, and buzzing with mechanical precision, scanning for the dragon. Jace and the dragon ducked behind a large rock, holding their breaths. The drone hovered, lights scanning the area, then moved on, seemingly satisfied that the target was not in sight. The dragon exhaled a quiet puff of smoke, wings fluttering with tension. Jace crouched beside it, whispering, "You did well. That was close, but we're safe for now." For the first time, the dragon let out a soft, almost contented rumble. It nudged Jace's hand with its snout, a gesture of trust and gratitude. The human smiled. "We're partners now," he said. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." As night deepened, Jace set up a small camp inside the canyon. The dragon curled up beside him, eyes half closed but alert. Its tail flicked occasionally, testing the perimeter, while its glowing scales provided a gentle light in the dark. Jace prepared a meal, offering bits to the dragon. It accepted them cautiously, no longer fearful, and even let him scratch behind its ears. A small but significant gesture of trust. In the quiet moments, Jace thought about the dragon's energy. He had felt it before, in the spark along its scales, but now it seemed more pronounced, almost alive. He ran his fingers along its glowing spine, careful not to startle it. The dragon shivered slightly but did not pull away. Jace realized that this energy could be powerful, dangerously powerful, and that it might attract more attention from outside forces. Suddenly, a faint vibration ran through the ground. Jace froze. The dragon's ears twitched, head lifting sharply. From deep within the canyon, a low rumble echoed, growing louder and more distinct. Rocks trembled underfoot. The dragon's eyes widened, pupils dilating, and its wings twitched as if preparing for flight. "What is it?" Jace whispered. The dragon's hum turned into a soft growl, a warning that something massive was approaching. Jace's heart raced. Whatever it was not a drone. This was alive and enormous. The canyon seemed too small, too fragile to contain the danger that now moved toward them. The dragon took a cautious step forward, placing itself between Jace and the source of the rumble. Its scales flared with light, energy pulsing like a heartbeat. Jace realized that the dragon was not just scared. It was preparing, using its mysterious power to sense and respond to the threat. From the darkness of the canyon entrance, a colossal shape emerged. Its body was covered in dark, armored plates, eyes glowing a fiery red. It let out a deafening roar that shook the canyon walls. The dragon growled in response, smaller but fierce, wings spreading to make itself look larger. Jace's breath caught. He had faced many dangerous creatures in his life, but this was unlike anything he had encountered. The dragon's trust in him, fragile though it was, became the bridge between fear and courage. Together, they would face this massive intruder, a trial that would test their bond and the limits of the dragon's hidden powers. The canyon echoed with tension, the night alive with energy. The dragon's scales shimmered brighter, wings quivering in anticipation. Jace tightened his grip on his equipment, eyes locked on the approaching threat. He knew one thing with certainty. They could not run. They had to face it together, and whatever happened next would change the dragon and their story forever. Above, the twin moons glimmered, casting silver light across the jagged cliffs. The wind carried the faint scent of danger, but also the unmistakable spark of trust, courage, and the beginning of a bond that neither human nor dragon could ignore. And in that moment, under the glowing moons, a partnership was born. A bond that would shape the destiny of both human and dragon in ways neither could yet imagine. The silence of the canyon shattered with a deafening roar. Rocks trembled beneath Commander Jace Kellen's boots, and the dragon's wings twitched nervously, ready to spring into action. The massive creature that had emerged from the darkness was unlike anything Jace had seen before. Its body was covered in thick, armored scales that shimmered faintly in the moonlight, and its eyes glowed like molten lava. Every step it took sent vibrations through the ground, rattling loose stones down the canyon walls. The dragon hissed, low and urgent, its tail flicking in warning. Jace stepped closer, trying to calm it. "Stay behind me," he whispered, his voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline racing through his veins. The dragon hesitated but obeyed, curling slightly behind him, wings partially extended in a defensive stance. The massive creature let out another roar, a sound that echoed through the canyon and made the air itself feel heavy. It advanced slowly, deliberately, scanning the area as if hunting for prey. Jace squinted. Its movements were precise, calculated. It was not a wild animal. This was something designed, something sent with intent. The dragon's golden eyes glowed brighter, pulsing in rhythm with its heartbeat. Jace noticed that as the danger grew nearer, the dragon's hidden energy expanded along its scales, small sparks of light dancing across its wings and back. He had seen it before, but now it was more pronounced, almost alive, responding to the threat instinctively. "You can do this," Jace murmured, placing a hand gently on the dragon's shoulder. The creature shivered at his touch, then took a deep breath. Its chest glowed faintly as it inhaled, and Jace realized something remarkable. This dragon's power was tied to its emotions, its trust, and its courage. The massive intruder lunged, smashing into the canyon floor with a force that sent dust and small rocks into the air. The dragon reacted instantly, leaping to the side with a surprising burst of speed. Sparks flew as the dragon's claw scraped against the rocky ground, leaving glowing streaks behind. It hissed, a sound of determination rather than fear, and prepared to counterattack. Jace drew a small energy blaster from his pack, aiming it at the intruder. He fired, sending a bright pulse toward the creature, but it barely flinched. The energy dissipated against its thick armor, leaving Jace momentarily stunned. He realized that brute force alone would not work. The dragon's instincts, however, were sharper than any weapon he had. The dragon surged forward, wings flaring to create a small gust of wind. Its claws slashed through the air, and sparks of energy leapt from its body, striking the intruder. The massive creature staggered, but it quickly recovered, its eyes narrowing in fury. It roared again, this time more aggressively, and advanced with renewed intensity. Jace knew they were outmatched in sheer strength. He glanced around the canyon, looking for anything that could give them an advantage. Sharp rocks, narrow pathways, shadows, they had to use the terrain to survive. He gestured to the dragon, and it immediately understood. Together, they darted between the rocks, weaving through narrow gaps that the massive creature could not fit through. The intruder tried to follow but got stuck briefly, giving Jace and the dragon a small window to regroup. The dragon exhaled a controlled burst of flame, scorching the edges of the rocks and creating a temporary barrier. Jace took a deep breath, watching the dragon in awe. Its control over its power had grown remarkably in just a few hours, and he knew they were only scratching the surface of its abilities. The massive creature roared, shaking loose stones from the canyon walls. Dust and debris filled the air, making it hard to see. Jace shielded his eyes, calling out to the dragon, "Stay close. Watch my movements." The dragon responded instantly, weaving around the falling rocks, its energy glow intensifying with each movement. Its wings created gusts of wind that shifted the dust and debris, revealing the intruder's position. Jace realized that the dragon was not only fighting, it was thinking, reacting, using the environment to their advantage. Suddenly, the massive creature lunged again, this time targeting Jace directly. He fired his blaster, but again it barely made an impact. He could feel the panic rising, but he forced himself to focus. The dragon growled, leaping in front of him just in time. Its claws raked across the intruder's armor, leaving glowing marks. Sparks flew, and the creature staggered back. Jace could see that the intruder was not invincible. It had weaknesses. The glowing streaks left by the dragon's claws seemed to affect it, causing small bursts of energy to flicker across its body. Jace's mind raced. If they could target those weak spots together, they might stand a chance. "Follow my lead," he whispered. The dragon tilted its head, listening, then nodded, or at least Jace imagined it did, and they moved in perfect sync. The dragon leaped forward, drawing the creature's attention, while Jace darted to the side, aiming carefully at the glowing streaks on its armor. He fired precise shots, causing sparks and small explosions. The intruder roared in pain, staggering, and the dragon took advantage of the moment. It unleashed a burst of energy from its chest, a wave of light and heat that slammed into the massive creature. The force sent it crashing against the canyon wall, shaking loose even more debris. Jace ran forward, heart pounding. "Now! Keep it off balance." The dragon flared its wings, creating a wall of wind and energy. The massive creature struggled to rise, blinded and disoriented. Jace fired his blaster again, hitting the weak spots repeatedly. Finally, with one last surge of energy, the dragon leaped onto the creature's back, claws digging into its armor. Sparks and light danced across the massive body as the dragon's power surged, forcing it to collapse onto the canyon floor with a resounding crash. For a moment, silence returned. Dust hung in the air, and the valley seemed to hold its breath. The dragon stood tall, wings partially extended, glowing faintly but steadily now. Jace approached cautiously, placing a hand on its shoulder. "You did it," he said, voice filled with awe. "We did it together." The dragon lowered its head slightly, as if acknowledging the partnership that had formed. Its eyes, once filled with sorrow, now held something different, a glimmer of pride, trust, and determination. But even as they caught their breath, Jace knew this was only the beginning. The intruder had been sent for a reason. Someone or something out there wanted the dragon, and this was merely the first attack. The valley, once quiet and lonely, had become a battlefield, and the human and dragon were now a team the galaxy would notice. The twin moons cast silver light over the canyon, glinting off the dragon's glowing scales. Jace looked at it and smiled. "We're ready for whatever comes next," he said softly. The dragon exhaled a small puff of smoke in response, a silent affirmation. And in that quiet moment after the chaos, a bond stronger than any weapon had formed. A bond between human courage and dragon power, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. The canyon lay quiet after the battle, but the air was thick with tension. Dust and debris settled slowly, and the twin moons cast a silver glow over the jagged rocks. Commander Jace Kellen stood beside the dragon, catching his breath, his eyes scanning every shadow. The massive intruder lay defeated, but Jace knew this was far from over. Whoever or whatever had sent it would not stop easily. The dragon stirred beside him, its wings, once trembling, now stretched gracefully, revealing patterns of glowing lines along its scales. Jace's heart raced. The energy within the dragon had grown, stronger and more controlled than before. Its golden eyes shimmered with intelligence and awareness, and the faint hum of its internal energy seemed to resonate through the entire canyon. Jace knelt beside the dragon, brushing dust off its shoulder. "You're incredible," he whispered. "I've never seen anything like you." The dragon lowered its head, nudging him gently. It seemed to understand his words, as if it knew its strength and purpose were finally being recognized. The bond between them, once fragile, had now become unbreakable. But the calm did not last long. From the depths of the valley, a new rumble emerged. Jace's eyes narrowed. This was different, slower, heavier, and more deliberate. The ground shook as a massive shadow approached, bigger and more menacing than the last. The intruder from before had been a test. This was the real threat. The dragon's body stiffened, its scales glowing brighter with each step of the approaching menace. Jace felt the energy surge beneath his hands as he steadied himself. He had come to understand that this creature's power was tied to its emotions, and now, with the bond between them strong, the dragon's potential could be unleashed. "Ready?" Jace asked quietly. The dragon let out a soft rumble, a sound that seemed like an answer. Its wings unfurled fully, shimmering with radiant light, energy pulsing like a heartbeat through its body. The canyon seemed to respond, rocks vibrating as if recognizing the power about to be released. The massive intruder emerged fully into view. It was a towering creature, armored and relentless, with eyes burning red like molten metal. Its roar shook the canyon walls, sending debris tumbling around. But the dragon did not back down. It planted its claws firmly in the ground, wings extended, scales glowing brilliantly. Jace took a deep breath and stepped forward, placing a hand on the dragon's chest. He felt the warmth, the energy, the life force within. The dragon's transformation was complete. It was no longer just a lonely, broken creature. It was a force to be reckoned with. With a roar that echoed across the valley, the dragon unleashed a wave of energy from its chest. The air shimmered and crackled, a blinding light spreading outward. The intruder staggered, caught off guard by the sheer intensity. Sparks and flames danced along its armored body, and it let out a pained roar. Jace watched in awe. The dragon's power was not just physical. It was elemental, almost alive, responding to its emotions and its bond with him. Every movement, every beat of its wings, sent waves of energy rippling through the canyon. Rocks cracked, dust swirled, and the air itself seemed charged with raw, untamed power. The massive intruder tried to attack again, but the dragon moved with grace and precision. Its claws struck with pinpoint accuracy, its tail swept with force, and its wings created gusts of wind that knocked the creature off balance. Jace realized that the dragon's sadness, once its weakness, had been transformed into strength. Every ounce of pain and loneliness had been harnessed, fueling its power. "You're unstoppable," Jace said, shouting over the roar and chaos. The dragon let out a low, resonant growl, acknowledging him. They were no longer just human and dragon. They were partners, a single force of will and strength. The intruder staggered again, but it was not finished. Its glowing eyes burned with rage as it lunged forward, faster and more aggressively than before. The dragon's wings flared, energy sparking along its scales, and it met the attack head-on. The impact shook the ground, sending rocks and debris flying. Jace held his ground, heart racing, knowing they had only one chance to end this confrontation. With a deep exhale, the dragon unleashed a final surge of energy. The light was blinding, the force immense. The intruder let out a deafening roar before collapsing, overwhelmed by the sheer power of the dragon's transformation. Dust and smoke filled the canyon, and when it cleared, the massive creature was gone, leaving only the shimmering rocks and the glowing dragon standing victorious. Jace approached, his hand brushing against the dragon's glowing scales. "We did it," he whispered, voice full of awe and relief. The dragon lowered its head, eyes meeting his, a silent acknowledgement of their bond and victory. But victory was only the beginning. Jace knew the galaxy would notice a creature of such power, and enemies would surely come. Yet, for the first time, he felt a sense of hope. This dragon, once the saddest and loneliest in the shelter, had transformed into something extraordinary, and with their bond, they could face anything together. The twin moons of Dracora shone brightly, illuminating the dragon's radiant scales and casting long shadows across the canyon. Jace looked at his companion, feeling the weight of what had just occurred. The dragon was no longer broken. It was alive with strength, courage, and purpose, and he knew that whatever came next, they would meet it as one. The wind carried a faint echo, almost like a whisper, across the valley. It was a reminder that the galaxy was vast, full of dangers and mysteries. But for now, human and dragon stood together, victorious and transformed, ready for the adventures and challenges that lay ahead. In that moment, the lonely dragon's story had changed forever. From sadness and fear, it had grown into power and trust. And for Jace, the human who had stepped into its life, the journey was only beginning. The stars above glimmered, and the night felt alive with possibility. The bond had been forged in struggle, strengthened by trust, and fueled by courage. Together, Human and dragon were ready to face whatever the universe had in store. The valley lay quiet once more, but the air still vibrated with the aftershocks of the battle. Commander Jace Kellen stood beside the dragon, panting, his eyes scanning every shadow for lingering threats. The twin moons of Dracora reflected off the dragon's radiant scales, casting silver and golden light across the jagged rocks. For the first time in hours, perhaps days, silence felt almost peaceful. The dragon lowered its wings and curled slightly, but its eyes remained alert. Jace crouched beside it, brushing dust and debris off its scales. "You were incredible," he whispered. "I've never seen anything like you." The dragon nudged him gently, its warm breath ruffling his hair. A simple gesture that spoke volumes of the bond they had forged. But even as relief washed over Jace, a new vibration ran through the ground. He froze. The dragon's ears twitched, eyes narrowing. The source of the rumble was not the previous intruder. It was something else, something far larger. Jace felt a chill run down his spine. From the far edge of the valley, a shadow emerged, enormous, towering, with scales that shimmered darkly under the moons. Its roar was deafening, shaking loose rocks from the cliffs. The dragon stiffened, wings unfurling in preparation. Jace realized immediately that this was not just another creature. It was the origin of the distress signal, the true threat that had drawn him here. "You're going to be okay?" Jace whispered, placing a hand on the dragon's glowing chest. He felt the surge of energy beneath his fingers, the heartbeat of power and courage intertwined with emotion. "We'll face this together." The giant creature advanced, its steps slow but purposeful. Sparks of energy flickered along its armored body, and its eyes locked on the dragon, calculating. It roared, a sound that seemed to shake the very air, but the dragon did not retreat. Its scales glowed brighter, wings extended fully, tail whipping in warning. Jace took a deep breath, realizing that the dragon had finally embraced its full potential. Not just strength, but courage, intelligence, and trust. The massive creature struck first, smashing into the canyon floor with force that sent debris flying in all directions. The dragon leaped aside, energy crackling along its body as it moved with precision and grace. Jace ducked behind a boulder, heart racing, his hand resting on the dragon's side, ready to help if needed. The battle began in earnest. Rocks shattered, sparks flew, and the valley echoed with roars and energy blasts. The dragon's powers had grown immensely, but so had the stakes. This giant creature was relentless, its attacks precise and devastating. Each clash tested the bond between human and dragon, forcing them to anticipate each other's moves instinctively. Jace realized that the dragon's strength was tied to its trust in him. Whenever he shouted encouragement or positioned himself to guide it, the dragon's energy flared brighter, its movements faster and sharper. It was no longer a lonely, scared creature. It was a force of nature, unstoppable when united with the human who had believed in it. Hours seemed to pass in minutes as the battle raged. The canyon walls bore deep scars, dust and smoke filling the air, obscuring vision. Yet the dragon never faltered, and Jace never left its side. Together, they moved as one, a perfect combination of instinct, strategy, and raw power. Then, as the massive creature prepared for a final, devastating strike, the dragon unleashed a surge of energy unlike anything Jace had seen. Its scales glowed intensely, wings beating furiously, and a blinding wave of light erupted from its body. The force struck the giant intruder directly, lifting it off the ground and slamming it against the canyon walls. Rocks shattered, and the creature let out a roar of defeat before collapsing. Silence returned to the valley. Dust hung in the air, settling slowly as the dragon stood victorious, glowing faintly but steadily now. Jace approached cautiously, placing a hand on its shoulder. "We did it," he whispered, awed and exhausted. The dragon lowered its head slightly, eyes meeting his, a silent acknowledgement of their shared triumph. But the shock was not over. As the dust cleared, a faint light flickered at the edge of the valley. Something was moving in the shadows, a smaller figure, humanoid in shape, observing them. Jace tensed, but the dragon's eyes narrowed, wings flaring slightly. Whoever this was, it was intelligent and cautious. The figure stepped forward, revealing a humanoid alien, clad in armor that glimmered under the moons. Its eyes locked on the dragon, and it spoke in a low, calm voice. I did not expect this. That dragon. It is unlike any other. You have awakened it. Jace's brow furrowed. Who are you? Why are you here? The alien lowered its head slightly, as if acknowledging respect. I am a guardian of lost creatures. This dragon, it was meant for greater things. Your presence, human, has changed its fate. Few would have earned its trust. Few could have awakened its true power. The dragon shifted beside Jace, wings folding slowly, glowing faintly in response to the alien's presence. Jace realized then that the dragon's story was far from ordinary. It was not just a lonely, abandoned creature. It was destined for something monumental, something that could shape the galaxy itself. The alien continued, but the galaxy will notice now. Enemies will come, drawn to its power. You must protect it, or all will be lost. Jace's jaw tightened. We'll protect it. Together. He looked down at the dragon, who let out a soft, affirming rumble. The bond between them was no longer fragile. It was unbreakable. They had survived battles, dangers, and fear, and they had emerged stronger, united by trust, courage, and determination. The alien nodded slowly. Then your journey begins. What you do next will decide the fate of many worlds. As the figure retreated into the shadows, Jace and the dragon stood alone in the valley, the twin moons casting silver and gold light over them. The dragon's scales shimmered softly, wings relaxed, yet ready. The valley, once a place of loneliness and despair, was now the birthplace of a legend. A human and a dragon, bound by fate, trust, and courage, ready to face the galaxy together. Jace placed a hand on the dragon's head, feeling its warmth, energy, and presence. We've come far, my friend, but this is only the beginning. The dragon exhaled a gentle plume of smoke, a soft rumble resonating through the air. In that sound, Jace heard trust, friendship, and the promise of countless adventures ahead. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but they were ready. Together, they were unstoppable. Above, the stars glittered like diamonds, indifferent yet beautiful, and the twin moons shone over a human and a dragon who had faced despair, danger, and darkness, and had emerged victorious, transformed, and united. For the lonely dragon, the story of sadness was over. For Jace, the journey had begun. And for the galaxy, a new legend had been born.